Hi guys, so I really enjoyed doing the 15 cancelled Dreamcast games, so I thought I'd have a look at one of Sega's other consoles, the Sega Saturn, which is a console that I never had back in the day, but one that I'm really enjoying playing now, and really good to explore the library, especially the Japanese library there. Lots of games that I never got to experience as a kid. Now, there are numerous games that never came to the system, same as the Dreamcast, and I've picked 15 here to show you. So here are 15 cancelled Sega Saturn games. Witchwood was to be an action-adventure game from Team 17, which was in development from 1994 to 1996. Originally intended for the Amiga and PC, in 1995 the project moved to PC, PlayStation, Saturn and Jaguar. Witchwood was similar in style to the top-down 2D Zelda games, and followed the journey of a young man on a quest to destroy an evil witch. During its development, Team 17 were also working on a similar action-adventure called Sperris. When this was released on Amiga in 1996, its poor sales may have prompted Team 17 to cancel Witchwood, although the real reason for the game's cancellation is uncertain. A playable demo of Witchwood was leaked online several years ago. The first of 3 cancelled Sonic games on this list, Sonic Saturn was in development at the same time as the cancelled Sonic X-treme during 1995 and 96. Sonic Saturn, presumably a working title, was to use 3D models rather than the 2D sprites of its predecessors, using an interesting 3D engine dubbed the Sonic Saturn engine. It was never officially announced, so we can only assume that it didn't progress very far before cancellation. A prototype was created by the guy who created Sonic 2 Special Stages, but Yuji Naka didn't like it, so the Sonic Saturn engine was never used to develop a Sonic game on the Saturn. Based on the 1950s novel and film The Incredible Shrinking Man, The Incredible Shrinking character was an action-adventure game in development in 1996 by Cyberdreams on PC, PlayStation and Saturn. The player would control a private investigator who, after visiting the castle of mad scientist Dr. Warren Franklin, is shrunk to a minuscule size by the Doctor's shrink ray. The player would shrink in size progressively each level, making obstacles of household objects and threats of small animals like spiders and ants. Although it was announced in magazines and even a preview video emerged, the Incredible Shrinking character was never finished because Cyberdreams went under. Rollcage, not to be confused with the futuristic racer of the same name from Psygnosis, was a cancelled racing game being developed by Team 17 for the PlayStation 3DO and Saturn. Very little info is available on this game, but it looks like it was intended to be a blend of stunt car and stock car racing with realistic cars and tracks. All that seems to be online is a video from a magazine cover disc and a few screenshots in a separate magazine. I have no idea why it was cancelled, but Rollcage never made it to any platform. Terminus is a cancelled action-adventure third-person shooter developed by Scavenger Inc. for the Saturn, PlayStation and PC in 1996. Scavenger claimed in press releases that Terminus would give Tomb Raider a run for its money. All that seems to remain are a few screenshots showing an impressive engine for the time and some interesting character concept art. In 97-98 Scavenger went bankrupt and Terminus died along with several other ongoing projects. The team working on the game moved to Shiny Entertainment and Terminus eventually morphed into Messiah on PC. Split Realities was a 2D side-scrolling action game by Funcom in development for the Saturn and PlayStation. All that exists is some screenshots of the game which show an immediate resemblance to Delphine Software's Flashback. Rumoured to blend side-scrolling beat-em-up and action platforming elements, I think it looks really interesting for a game with so little on show. It was cancelled due to developmental issues, but lead artist Didrik Tollefsen was keen to take the core concept of split realities and build a new game around it. The end result was 1999's point-and-click adventure The Longest Journey, which was a far cry from the original game's idea, but preserved elements of it. As mentioned earlier, Sonic X-treme was in development at the same time as Sonic Saturn, and was to be the first fully 3D Sonic game, and the first entry in the Sonic series on the Saturn. Originally conceived as a 2D entry in the series for the Mega Drive, development moved to the Saturn, but was fraught with developmental issues. The gameplay style and plot were changed several times before settling on a fully 3D platform game, evident from the differing demos available, and the team had problems acquiring a suitable engine. A visit from Sega of Japan in 1996 also didn't help, as they disliked the engine's performance on the Saturn. Eventually, when the project's two lead developers fell ill, the game was cancelled. The failure of Sonic X-treme is said to be a large contributing factor in the Saturn's failure, and many have subsequently pondered on whether the console's success would have been very different had Sonic X-treme been a success. Before making history on the Saturn's successor, the Dreamcast, Yu Suzuki's epic adventure Shenmue was intended for release on the Saturn. Originally conceived as a Virtua Fighter RPG starring Akira, the project was cancelled on Saturn due to the Dreamcast's release and the amount of time it would need for completion. Shenmue would have been a beast on Saturn, taking up over 8 CDs, and an impressive demo exists showing it running on the console. SCUD Race, known as Sega Super GT in North America, is a 1996 arcade racer and the first game to use Sega's Model 3 hardware. SCUD Race is sadly an arcade exclusive, but a port was originally heading to the Saturn. It eventually moved to the Dreamcast, and a tech demo emerged of it running on the console, but this too was cancelled. What a pity, as SCUD Race would have been well suited to either console. Hyper Blade was a violent futuristic sports game released on Windows 95 in 1996 and was also intended for the PlayStation and Saturn, but both ports were cancelled not long before release. Gameplay takes place in an elliptical dome which is full of dangerous hazards. Players must throw an object called a rock into a small goal at either end of the dome. I'm not sure why the two console ports were axed, but from the looks of it it's not that huge of a loss. I mean, it's no Speedball 2. Sonic the Fighters, also called Sonic Championship in European and North American arcades, was a 1996 arcade fighting game for Sega's Model 2 arcade system, developed by AM2. The game started its life when one of AM2's character designers decided to put Sonic and Tails into fighting vipers, and Yu Suzuki saw it and decided to pitch the idea. Yuji Naka, with some encouragement, liked the idea and requested that the team design some new Sonic characters for the game. Sonic the Fighters uses similar gameplay and mechanics to those in the Fighting Vipers and Virtua Fighter games, and has a selection of Sonic characters from which to choose. Players either fight each other or progress through arcade mode, eventually facing off against Metal Sonic and then Robotnik. A Saturn port was planned from day one, intended for a 1997 release, but for whatever reason never happened. Two of its characters, Bean the Dynamite and Bark the Polar Bear, later appeared on Saturn in 97's Fighters Megamix. Before it became Fighting Force, Core Design pitched the game to Sega as Streets of Rage 4. Initially intended as a Saturn exclusive, Core decided that it would be a better strategy to make it a multi-platform game, and as a result Sega demanded that the Streets of Rage license be removed. Renamed Fighting Force, the game was headed to PlayStation, Windows and Saturn. The first two of which saw release in 1997, but the Saturn version never appeared, despite rumours that it was completed. The reason behind this is said to be over the publishing, with Core looking to Eidos at first, and then Sega of Europe for the Saturn version. Eidos handled the successful PlayStation and PC versions, but for some reason the game never came to Saturn. A prototype of the Saturn version of Fighting Force was uploaded in 2008 by DRX. Monster Maker Holy Dagger was a planned sequel to NEC's Monster Maker on the PC Engine CD, which ended on a cliffhanger. A strategy RPG, Monster Maker Holy Dagger experienced some production delays, similar to its predecessor, and was eventually cancelled due to the project taking too long to complete with the Saturn nearing the end of its lifespan. Rather than move the project to another platform, NEC decided to cancel the game. All that I could find was some screenshots from a Japanese Saturn magazine, but they do look gorgeous, so it's a shame that this never saw release. Major Damage was being developed for the Saturn by Capcom and was a side-scrolling action game which used 3D backgrounds with pre-rendered sprites in the way pioneered by Rare's Donkey Kong Country, a resemblance to which is evident from the screenshots. Prototypes of the game in its early development stages have been leaked online, showing its run-and-gun style of gameplay. It was eventually cancelled on Saturn, again due to Sega dropping support for the console, but as the game was almost completed, Capcom took Major Damage to Sony for a potential PlayStation release, but it was rejected. HMS Carnage, later renamed Dreadnought, was to be a Victorian steampunk strategy shooter set on Mars, with gameplay elements similar to Warhawk on PS3, with the player controlling various vehicles to complete missions. The game was in development for a whopping 3 years at Ocean Software, but surprisingly all that seems to exist is a short demo and some screenshots. Apparently, the PlayStation and Saturn ports of the game would have been rather different to the PC version, as they were planned much later on, as Ocean's main focus was on the PC version, so the console ports would have been more action oriented. In 1998, Infogrames bought Ocean, and the project was deemed to be too costly to finish, and so HMS Carnage, aka Dreadnought, was cancelled. So those were 15 of the many cancelled Sega Saturn games. Did I exclude any that you were particularly excited for? Let me know in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching.